CEO and HR chief exposed having affair on kiss cam at Coldplay concert. This is the moment. A few seconds of footage from a Coldplay concert that didn't just go viral, it set off a corporate bomb. What you're looking at are the panicked faces of Andy Byron, the CEO of a billion-dollar tech company, and his chief people officer, Kristin Cabot. They were caught on the kiss cam, and their reaction wasn't just awkward, it was pure, unadulterated panic. Chris Martin of Coldplay saw the whole thing happen live from the stage and made a joke that would echo across the internet. Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. Little did he know he just lit the fuse on one of the most explosive workplace scandals of the year. The clip, posted online by a concert goer, immediately blew up. But this story is so much bigger than just a viral video. It's about what happened next. The frantic internet sleuthing, the public fallout, the personal lives left in ruins, and the corporate nightmare that unfolded when a CEO's biggest secret was exposed to the world. A secret involving the one person in the company who is supposed to prevent this exact kind of mess, the head of human resources. Today we're breaking down every angle of the Astronomer kiss cam scandal. How a few seconds of footage led to a formal investigation, a CEO and his HR chief being placed on leave, and an ethical crisis that has rocked a billion-dollar company to its core. The concert, the camera, the catastrophe. The scene was Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, on July 16, 2025. Tens of thousands of fans were packed in for a Coldplay show. During the concert, Chris Martin often does a bit where the jumbotron cameras scan the audience. It's usually a fun, light-hearted moment for fans to get their 15 seconds of fame. As the camera panned across the sea of faces, it settled on a couple locked in a close embrace. The man, later identified as Andy Byron, had his arms wrapped around the woman, Kristin Cabot, from behind. They were smiling, swaying to the music, completely lost in their own world. Then they saw themselves on the giant screen. The change was instantaneous. Her jaw dropped and she threw her hands over her face, immediately spinning away from the camera. He reacted just as fast, letting go of her and ducking down, trying to vanish into the crowd. Their reaction was so jarring, so far from the usual playful shyness you see on a kiss cam, that it immediately got the attention of everyone watching, including Chris Martin. On stage, he quipped, "Oh what, either they're having an affair or they're just very shy." The crowd laughed, but for Byron and Cabot, the damage was done. The moment was captured by a concert goer named Grace Springer who posted the clip online, and the internet took it from there. It was no longer a private moment of panic. It was public property, and it was about to go nuclear. Chris Martin himself seemed to sense the gravity of what might have just happened, reportedly saying to the audience later, "Holy espertiolas, I hope we didn't do something bad." The viral inferno and the internet detectives. Grace Springer's video didn't just get a few views, it became a global phenomenon. Within hours, it was ricocheting across TikTok and X, amassing a staggering 50 million views. The question on everyone's mind was simple: who are these two people and why were they so terrified of being seen together? This is where the story turns into a modern-day digital manhunt. Internet sleuths, fueled by the irresistible drama, went to work. It didn't take long. The couple was quickly identified as Andy Byron, the CEO of a New York-based AI firm called Astronomer, and Kristin Cabot, the company's chief people officer, the head of HR. This revelation poured gasoline on the fire. This wasn't just about two people caught in an awkward moment anymore. It was now a story about a powerful CEO and a high-ranking executive from the same company, and not just any executive, but the one whose entire job is to oversee workplace policy, ethics, and professional conduct. The potential conflict of interest was massive and obvious to everyone watching. As their identities were confirmed, their professional lives began to unravel in real time. Their LinkedIn profiles were flooded with attention before both accounts were quickly deactivated. A fake apology, allegedly from Andy Byron and cleverly ending with Coldplay lyrics, began circulating online, which the company later had to confirm was not real. The scandal even spawned a point-and-click video game called Coldplay Canoodlers, where players have to find the couple in a pixelated concert crowd. The internet wasn't just watching the drama, it was participating in it. The key players, a billion-dollar CEO and his HR chief. To get why this was such a big deal, you have to understand who Andy Byron and Kristin Cabot are and what they did at Astronomer. Andy Byron became the CEO of Astronomer in July of 2023. Astronomer isn't just a small startup, it's a major player in the data and AI space. A privately held company that hit unicorn status in 2022 with a valuation of over $1 billion. As CEO, Byron was the face of the company, the leader responsible for its strategy, culture, and public image. Then there's Kristin Cabot. She joined Astronomer as Chief People Officer in November 2024, just 9 months before the scandal. Her role is absolutely critical here. The Chief People Officer is the modern head of HR. They're in charge of everything related to employees, hiring, firing, culture, complaints, and most importantly, enforcing company policies on conduct and ethics. The irony is almost painful. The very person trusted with upholding the company's values was at the center of a scandal that threw those values into question. When she was hired, Byron himself had praised her exceptional leadership and passion for fostering diverse collaborative workplaces, calling her a perfect fit for Astronomer. What makes this a corporate nightmare is the relationship between the two. Any personal relationship between a CEO and the head of HR is an ethical minefield. The CPO needs to be an impartial resource for all employees. They are who you go to with a complaint against a coworker, or even against the CEO himself. How can that possibly work if the CPO is in a relationship with the CEO? It creates a massive conflict of interest and shatters any perception of fairness. And as the internet detectives kept digging, another layer emerged. Reports circulated that while Kristin Cabot's divorce was finalized in 2022, Andy Byron appeared to still be married. This turned the story from a case of questionable workplace ethics into a full-blown public spectacle of alleged infidelity, making the fallout that much worse. The corporate meltdown and the ethical crisis. As the video spread, the pressure on Astronomer became immense. This was no longer just about two people, it was about the company's integrity and leadership. The board had to act, and they had to act fast. The first official move came swiftly. The company announced its board had launched a formal investigation. In a public statement, Astronomer said, "Our leaders are expected to set the standard in both conduct and accountability." This was corporate speak for, "We know this is a disaster and we're taking it seriously." Shortly after, the consequences became clear. The company confirmed that both Andy Byron and Kristin Cabot had been placed on leave. To fill the void, Astronomer's co-founder Pete DeJoy was appointed as the interim CEO. According to some reports, the official announcement was delayed because of negotiations over an exit package, suggesting Byron was resistant to a quick departure. At the company's Manhattan office, employees were reportedly told to keep quiet, with one worker telling the New York Post, "Nope, we're not allowed to talk about it." This was an ethical crisis of the highest order. A relationship between a CEO and a chief people officer is a catastrophic failure of corporate governance. The CPO's primary duty is to the company and its employees. A romantic relationship with the CEO compromises this duty in a few key ways. First, favoritism. How can anyone trust that decisions about promotions or compensation are being made fairly? Second, it completely neutralizes HR as a safe place for complaints. Imagine you're an employee with a legitimate grievance against the CEO. Who do you report it to? The normal channel would be HR, but here you'd be reporting the CEO to his own partner. The chilling effect this has on a workplace is profound. It fosters a culture of fear and silence. Finally, it raises serious questions about whether company policies were violated. Many companies have strict rules requiring the disclosure of workplace relationships. Given the board's swift reaction, it seems unlikely this one was ever disclosed. This scandal is a textbook example of how personal decisions can have devastating professional consequences. If you find these kinds of deep dives into corporate drama and public fallout compelling, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next breakdown. I have to ask, do you think a CEO can ever recover from a scandal like this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The personal fallout and the court of public opinion. While the corporate drama unfolded, the personal fallout was just as intense. The internet doesn't draw a line between professional and private life. And once Byron and Cabot were identified, their personal lives were put under a microscope. The primary focus of public scrutiny fell on Andy Byron's wife, Megan Kerrigan Byron. As the video went viral, her social media was flooded with messages from strangers. Her Facebook page, which reportedly contained family photos, became a target for people expressing both sympathy for her and outrage at her husband. Her reaction was swift and telling. According to multiple reports and screenshots that circulated online, she first removed her husband's surname Byron from her profile name. Shortly after, her entire Facebook account was deleted or deactivated, as was her Instagram profile. It was a clear act of a woman trying to reclaim her privacy from a public humiliation she never asked for. The court of public opinion had delivered its verdict. Byron and Cabot were widely condemned, not just for the potential ethical breaches at their company, but for the very public nature of their alleged affair. The sentiment was raw. One commenter wrote, "Feels so bad for his wife and so happy they were humiliated." Another added, "Taking your cheating partner to a public concert with cameras is just wild. I pity his wife." Both Byron and Cabot have remained publicly silent. Their professional lives were paused, their LinkedIn profiles were gone, and they were, for all intents and purposes, in hiding from the digital storm. It's a brutal reminder that for a public figure, a private mistake can become public punishment in an instant. The story of the Coldplay kiss cam scandal is a modern corporate tragedy played out in fast forward. It started with a few seconds of intimacy broadcast to a stadium, was amplified by a perfectly timed joke from a rock star, and then weaponized by the unparalleled speed of the internet. What followed was a total meltdown. For Andy Byron and Kristin Cabot, a moment of unguarded affection led to their professional lives being put on hold and their personal lives being dissected by millions. Both have been placed on leave from their high-powered jobs, their reputations in tatters. For Astronomer, it became a full-blown crisis. The board was forced to launch an investigation and appoint an interim CEO, all while fighting a PR nightmare that has tarnished its billion-dollar brand. The scandal exposed a catastrophic failure of leadership and corporate governance, and for the family caught in the crossfire, particularly Andy Byron's wife, it's been a deeply personal and public humiliation. This incident is a powerful cautionary tale about the intersection of personal conduct, professional responsibility, and the unforgiving nature of public scrutiny. It shows that for those in power, the line between private life and public accountability has all but vanished. The investigation at Astronomer is still ongoing, and the final consequences for Byron and Cabot are yet to be determined. But the damage is done. What do you think the board of Astronomer should do? Is there any coming back for a CEO and an HR chief after a scandal of this magnitude? Let me know your final verdict in the comments below.